Welcome to the Mr. Alex podcast. Today I get to interview Bryce, who I've been spending the whole summer with. He's been here at Midway Church in Pilot Point in Aubrey, Texas, and he's been interning with the student ministry. So, since your time with the student ministry interning is coming to a close, where do you go to college and why did you pick that?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Mr. Alex.
Very welcome.
And to answer your question, I go to college at Baptist Bible College in Springfield, Missouri. And I picked that college because not only do I get the opportunity to play baseball, which I think we'll touch on later, but it's the college my dad went to, and he's a pastor. My mom went to, my grandpa went to, my grandma went to, my other grandpa went to, my other grandma went to, and my great-grandfather was one of the founding members. So,
it's just you didn't really have a choice in that.
No, I didn't. Well, it's funny because my freshman year I didn't go to BBC. I went to Wayland Baptist University in Plainview, Texas. But I just felt God calling me to BBC, and it's a place where you are going to be taught the Bible the right way. They're going to raise you up. They're going to prepare you for ministry, and their only goal is to see you grow closer to Christ. I have great professors and everything, and so yeah, I really enjoy BBC, and I'm glad I landed there.
Okay. So, what are you studying at BBC, and what is your dream career later on?
Yeah, so I'm studying, my degree title is Pastoral Studies, and then I have a minor in biblical languages. So, all that means is I take 6 hours of Greek, but that'll help me get ahead of my master's level stuff. So I'm hoping with that degree to get into student ministry and then maybe whatever God leads me.
What led you to wanting to be in student ministry?
Well, just being in a school, in a public school, a very big public school in Houston, Texas, I saw a lot of brokenness around me. I had friends with broken homes. I had friends with drug addict parents. I had people who had never heard the gospel. And I was like, man, all my friends are struggling with real things. And they need someone to point them to the only solution for this thing that they're missing, because they had so many friends that would turn to sex or drugs or pornography, and they were going everywhere but the right way. And I said, if only someone could come along and truly invest in them and point them the right way. And so that's something I strive to do then, and now I continue to strive to do is to point these young adults, 15 to 18-year-olds, high school kids especially. They're building blocks for the rest of their life, and I'm trying to hopefully include Jesus as one of those building blocks.
Very, very cool. So, I was a student intern last year, but I want to know from you, since I wasn't one this year, what was your favorite part of being a student intern, and what was the part that you never expected of being a student intern?
Yeah, so my favorite part, probably the camps and retreats. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go to the senior retreat for our graduated seniors and our middle school camp. And both of those were just a lot of fun because for two kind of different reasons, but kind of the same. Our senior retreat, the main focus is preparing these graduated seniors for the next step in life. And that's something that I'm passionate about because I'm in that next step of life. And so I want to see people be successful. I've seen far too many people, my friends, who take that next step and they lose touch of their faith or their church, or they go off the rails. And so that was interesting. That was fun for me. We also just did a lot of fun activities. We played putt-putt. We went to a river, and it was a lot of fun. And then middle school camp, anytime where you get to just be isolated and your sole focus is the gospel, I'm there, right? And middle school camp was just a fun experience where I got to, teach these middle schoolers about Christ and about what He's done, and then I got to shoot them with an archery tag bow, and it was just great.
And wear a tutu, don't forget about that.
Oh, and I wore a tutu. Yeah, dude, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, just be goofy and love Jesus. So those things are great.
So with all of that, like you had just, middle school, like we've done a lot together this summer. Like even not with student ministry, we did Kid Ventures, which in other words is VBS. Middle school camp, I didn't go to the senior retreat, but and we even remodeled the student ministry, moved everything over to the gym. So what was your favorite part about the summer? I know you probably, you might have touched this in the last one, but.
Yeah, well, to give you somewhat of a different answer, what we did specifically together, and it was one of my favorite things, and also one of the things that I did not see coming, was remodeling our hangout room. And it's funny because I think back, and I interned at 2 other churches, and both of them we've had a remodel.
So the next church you intern at, you're gonna have another
remodel. I guess, right? And so, what if I get a job at the next church? Did we just build a new building then? Do we step up? No, but yeah, it was interesting because we remodeled this room without any really adult, I guess I'm an adult, but I don't think of myself like an adult, but adult supervision.
Yeah, that's right, because Jonathan, our student pastor, was out on vacation.
And Aubrey,
who's, what's her title?
She's the girls' discipleship coordinator.
They were both out. So Bryce, the intern, was basically, the student pastor, which is pretty crazy.
Dude, and I listen, there was a lot of teamwork and good communication, and we got it done, and it looks well. It looks really good.
It does look really good.
I heard a lot of positive things, and I was like, dude, the kids did this, so yeah.
The next question is, could you share your testimony?
Yeah, so my testimony, it's pretty simple, but I was saved at 5 years old. I was going through a scripture memorization program, something like Awana's. It's actually called King's Kids, where you memorize a verse and you get points, and you go to the store and you buy the stuff, And the particular verse I was memorizing with my mom talked about Christ's salvation that He provides. So I asked my mom, I want this salvation. I feel I need this salvation. And I felt that conviction, and ultimately she was able to lead me to Christ, and I accepted that day. And then the next Sunday, I just started begging my pastor to get baptized. I think it was a month later, I finally sat down with him and made sure I knew I was saved, and I knew the gospel, and I understood it and believed it. Then I was baptized. And from there until high school, I was just a normal kid. Not a normal kid, a normal Christian kid. I went to church every time the doors open. My dad was, from 5 until 8. My dad was the youth pastor in New Mexico. And then when I was 8, we moved to Texas, and he was a youth pastor till I was 12. So, quite a long time. But when I got into high school, I played sports, and I just started running with the wrong crowd, if you will. And it was just, just simple things like language, and just my thinking was changed by who I was around. And so I really got into a really dark place in my sophomore year of high school. I can remember specifically just not knowing, who I was. And I think, part of that was me finding my identity in sports, and sports wasn't going great right then. And so I was really in a dark place. And then in summer of junior year, I'm at camp, and really feel convicted to give my life to ministry. And so that's what I did. I surrendered to full-time ministry and started the journey down there. So I've been on this journey for 3 or 4 years now, and it's just been good.
Okay. So my next question kind of goes back to doing summer together. First day you came, at least I'm pretty sure it was the first day. We just happened to meet. I was doing something for the student ministry, and it was your first day.
Yeah.
And so we met, and then we toured Denton area.
Yeah.
But when we first met, I want your honest opinion. What did you think about me?
Well, there's some context to that story, right? So I pull up here. I believe it was a Monday. No, it was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday.
Either Monday or Tuesday, yeah.
And I had been here 30 minutes, and I'm sitting in a parking lot, and I meet Jonathan. And if you don't know Jonathan, Jonathan's a crazy guy, right?
Dyed his hair pink this summer just for high school camp.
Yeah, and he's like, the first thing he says is like, "Do you want to go get my girls?" I was like, dude, like, I mean, I talked to Jonathan on the phone like a bunch, and so like I think he had some trust in me, but I was like, sure. And soon after that, like, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is Alex." So I've only been in this town for like an hour, and I meet Alex, and I'm still kind of taken aback by Jonathan's just being Jonathan. And so I meet you, and I was just like, all right, this is gonna be my one guy, because the relationship was just kind of forced to happen. So I was like, it can't fail. What Jonathan puts together, no man can tear apart. So, yeah, so I was just like, dude, this guy, I was shocked that you were just voluntarily at the church. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, I was like, this guy has some potential.
It's funny because right after, like, you guys were picking up the girls, like, I was at church and the doors were locked, obviously, so I was just waiting in my car. So I got out, and one of Jonathan's girls, Karis, comes up and gives me a hug. And I see you come out of the car, and I'm like, whoa, is that Jonas? And then Jonas doesn't look a thing like him. But I didn't know that he was coming. I knew there was a student intern coming.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know that he was coming that day. So I was like, well, wait, no, that's not Jonas. But no, our friendship has grown a lot.
Yeah.
Game VBS leaders.
Facts.
Only station outside. Yeah.
Builds character.
Okay, so could you give advice to any students who are thinking about going into the ministry?
Well, my first advice would be to submit to that calling. If you feel that calling in your life, just submit to that and accept it and find joy in it, because it is, it's a great thing to know what God has called you to. And I find joy in doing ministry, specifically student ministry, but just any kind of ministry in general. So I would say just submit to that calling and accept it. And then talk to your student pastor, because he's going to know what steps you need to take in order to be a ministry person. So I would suggest going through some sort of book. I particularly, when I started the ministry, I went through a book by Al Mohler. It was about just heeding your call, making sure you're called, and there's this kind of idea of like an internal call, which is what I feel, my conviction, and then an external call, which is someone saying like, dude, like you'd be really great in ministry. And so that's something that I learned. And so I would suggest going through something like that with your pastor, your student pastor, and then just start researching colleges. Specifically, I would say Bible colleges, because they tend to have better things. So I would personally suggest BBC, obviously, but then any of the Southern Baptist Bible colleges that are connected to the seminary. So if you're at Midwestern, if you're in the Midwest, Kansas City area, you have Spurgeon College, which is connected to Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. If you're in Texas, in Fort Worth, you have Scarborough. It's connected to Southwest Baptist Theological Seminary. And then if you're in Kentucky, you have Boyce. And so I've known people who've gone to all those, and they've turned out great. So yes, I would just research schools and research professors too. You want to be taught by the best. And so you find those professors and you make a decision on college, and then just go fully submitting to whatever God has for you.
Rate My Professor's a great website for that. Just finding out, which professor is good for you. Yeah. There are funny professors, serious professors, hard, easy, just what's best for you.
But then also, like, within the idea of theology, a lot of the professors write books. Mm-hmm. And so if you have, like for me, for instance, one of my favorite authors is Thomas Schreiner, who is a professor at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. So for me, as I'm starting to think post-grad now, where do I want to get my master's from? That's something that draws me to Southern, because I'm like, dude, like, I love their professors and they have good stuff and good writing.
Okay. So now I'm going to put you on the spot, because you could go anywhere in this. Just advice for students in general. Like, you could go anywhere with this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I mean, my advice is trust in Jesus, right? I tell people all the time, you don't have to do what I think, right? Because in my prideful self, I think I know what everyone should do, right? And I see people, and there's a little, I do think I have the gift of discernment, and I see how people work, and I see what they could be successful at, but I'm not gonna, I try to tell people and guide people, but ultimately I don't know. So what I always tell people is, whatever you do in life, be sure that you're called to it, that you enjoy doing it, and that you could support a family with it. And that could be anything from ministry to photography to playing a sport. If you really want to go full on to play professional sports, then do it, but you better have fun and enjoy it and feel called to it.
You can also, no matter what path you go down, always share the gospel.
Yeah.
Ministry, it's pretty obvious what you do if you're doing it on a daily basis. But sports, you get interviewed all the time, and there are some sports players. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I know that there are some sports players who are saved, and they kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
And then up to one of the highest paying jobs, a lawyer or a doctor. Those aren't restraining because I'm sure lawyers get interviewed, or they'll have their little speech thing, and they can say
they have relationships.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is use your relationships to better the kingdom of God and yourself, right? So invest in people and be invested in by people. So have someone that is discipling you while you disciple or evangelize to someone else. And that's, keep that all rooted in Christ. If everything's rooted in Christ, I don't think anything can go wrong.
So obviously when this gets out, it probably won't be today. But so today you are actually leaving to go back to your home, and then you're going to go back to BBC. Are you excited to go back to BBC?
Yeah, it's always hard to leave here. Not always hard, because I've never left here before. But it is hard to leave here, and all the relationships that I've built, and people like you or Jonathan or all the other students. But I'm excited for BBC. I'm going to my junior year, so I'm starting to end. And I have really good classes with really good professors. Some of your quote unquote big boy classes, the ones everyone excited about. Greek, I'm taking Greek this year. Expository preaching, I'm taking this year. So some of these big classes that people just love to take and learn, and things that I'm passionate about. So I'm excited on that. BBC, we've started to add some more sports teams, which is great because that's getting more kids on campus, but we don't know the spiritual condition of these kids. And so the mission field is coming to us. And so I'm praying for all my BBC students and our faculty, that we'd be a light into these kids' lives and these students' lives, and that we'd be able to point them to Christ during their time at BBC, and we'd make an impact that lasts forever.
This wasn't on the questions, but it just kind of came to mind. What else sports teams do you have on campus?
Yeah, so we have currently basketball, and our basketball team has won back-to-back national championships, so go Patriots. We have a JV basketball team, which is growing rapidly. We have girls basketball. We have volleyball that started last year. That's another source of a lot of growth. And then we have baseball, which started last year. And the baseball is a JV team. So we currently have 60 baseball players registered for this next upcoming semester. So if you want to play sports and you want to talk about Jesus, BBC would be a great place to do both.
Okay, so you kind of touched on it earlier, that you play sports. I don't remember if you said which sport, but if you didn't, or if you did, I'm going to ask it again. What sport do you play at BBC?
So I'll give you my sport that I actually play, and then my hobby sports. So the sport I actually play is baseball. I play collegiate baseball for Baptist Bible College in the National Christian College Athletic Association. This is our second year as a team.
Were you there at the first year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last year was our first year. I was on the team. We went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, We ended up finishing 4th in our conference. After a pretty bad regular season, you can look it up online, but don't. But yeah, so that's like my sport that I play like as a job, if you will. But my hobbies, I love disc golf. Like that's my sport. Like I'm trying to get into the more competitive scene, but school and baseball is kind of getting in the way, and so I'm really excited to like retire from those things. Yeah, I'm getting more into like hunting too. I'm trying to go for a dove this season during the fall when we don't have really much going on baseball wise. So yeah, those are like my sports that I love to play.
That's what BBC needs to start, a disc golf team.
A disc golf team, yeah, dude. I'm the only one I think who plays, but we can start with one.
Absolutely. Okay, this is the last question.
Mm-hmm.
What sport do you think they'll invent next?
Okay, yeah, good question.
And like, it has to have a name. It has to have like what you do.
What you do. Man, there's been a lot of sports invented recently. Like, have you seen like the tag game?
There's been lots of tag games.
Well, but just like, I don't know.
Oh,
it's like
just tag.
It's like professional freeze tag.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Dude,
yeah.
it's insane. Dudes
Next
are good
Olympic
at it.
game.
Yeah. What sport do I think they'll invent next? It's gonna be something technologically advanced. Just because how the world's going. Dude, I think honestly, it's gonna be like robot fighting. But like, there's already robot fighting, like BattleBots. Have you seen that? Which is also
BattleBots is awesome.
I love BattleBots.
Yes.
Listen. He doesn't fight anymore. Bronco was my bot. But I think it'll be like real steel robot fighting, like actual like swinging, punching, that kind of deal. I think that's just the next
step.
Will
it be like Transformers? Will they transform?
No.
Will they like?
No. It's gonna. I mean, they're gonna be like robots, like the movie.
Life size or?
Yeah, they could be life size, but it's gonna be robotic, and so it's gonna be cool. And you're gonna have like the VR like controllers and stuff. I mean, it's just the next. It's the next step from BattleBots. All right, we've fought robots together. Now let's fight human-like robots together.
I gotta ask 2 questions about this. Is the VR like? Are you like? Is it like if we were competing? Would like we be standing right next to each other, or would I be at my house and you be at your house?
No, you'd be at the spot.
You'd be at the spot.
Yeah. To do maintenance or whatever.
Alright, so I guess that's my next question. It'd be in real life, like not in the metaverse, right?
No.
Okay. I just had to ask because you were in the VR. So I
know I'm in VR, but I'm talking more about like remote controlling.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. If you're checking us out on YouTube, we have a podcast on Apple Podcast, on Google Podcast, and Spotify. It's basically just these interviews, but in the car and with no video. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you.